Hello everyone, welcome back to another Star Wars Destiny video. Today Fantasy Flight released a few more cards for Convergence for red. So new red hero, villain, and neutral cards. Going to give you my thoughts on the cards really quickly. So first up here we have Make Demands, one resource. This is a red villain event. Spot a leader to choose an opponent's character and deal 2 damage to it unless they give you one of their resources. So basically pay 1, do 2 damage. If they have no resources, they're just going to take 2 damage. And if they have a resource, they're either going to have to give you that resource or take the damage. So pretty good card, especially if they have no resources. That damage is going to be automatic, and it's pretty basically non-negatable damage. So it's not like it's like a damage die that they can remove. As long as you have a resource to pay for this event, and they don't have any resources, they'll be taking 2 damage on the character. And then if they do have resources, you'll basically be gaining a resource. So basically, pay 1, and then you will basically get that money back. So that is Make Demands. We're going to move into our next card. And next up, we have Imperial Officer. Red villain support. It's a leader, so it's a support that has a subtype, which is pretty interesting. So 2 resources for 2 range damage for a resource. Focus, disrupt, resource, and blank. After you activate the support, you may turn one of your trooper dice to any side. So it rolls out and immediately gets to focus one of the trooper dice, and then it could further focus dice later in the round if you land on its focus, or if you have a resource, you can spend the resource to do damage. So interesting utility sides here. So we have basically focus, disrupt, and resource. Again, damage as well. And after it rolls in, you can turn one of your trooper dice to any side. And as well, if you have cards that require a leader to be spotted. So let's say your leader character has been defeated. You can still spot this Imperial officer to satisfy the condition of spotting a leader. So that's pretty cool. And then we got damage focus on it, so pretty interesting there. 2 resources. That is Imperial Officer. We're going to move into our next card. And next up, we have the Mega Blaster Troopers. It's a red villain support. It's also a trooper. 4 resources. So 1 range, 2 range, 3 indirect, 2 disrupt, 2 blanks. So 2 blanks on a legendary is not great, but it has some other interesting abilities which I think make up for it. We also have 2 blanks on the Riot Baton when that came out as well. So again, it's a support trooper. So if you have dice that let you manipulate trooper dice or other events that let you manipulate trooper dice, you'll be able to this one. So the Imperial Officer will be able to turn this one as well. And after you activate the support, roll 1 set aside First Order Stormtrooper die into your pool, or 2 First Order Stormtrooper dice instead if you spot a leader. Set those dice aside after they are resolved or removed. So if you have the leader out, and you have 2 set aside Stormtrooper dice, be able to activate the Mega Blaster Troopers as well as roll in 2 First Order Stormtroopers. If you don't have a leader out, you still get to roll in 1 First Order Stormtrooper. So basically, every activation, as long as you have those dice set aside, be able to roll the Mega Blaster Troopers plus at least one First Order Stormtrooper. The damage is decent, so none of it's modified or resource costed. So again, we have a 1, a 2, and a 3. So 3 damage sides. And then if you roll well with your other, the Stormtrooper dice, you could potentially have a bunch of damage on the board. I think it's interesting. 4 resources. I think it's right because basically you are getting 2 dice rolls out of it. You are rolling this die in plus at least 1 other set aside die. So that is the Mega Blaster Troopers. I think it's pretty cool. I think Vader's Fist is still probably overall stronger, but this looks interesting because you'll be able to roll in other stuff along with. So that is Mega Blaster Troopers. Let's move into our next card. And next up we have Kes Dameron, Courageous Sergeant, 11 health, 13 or 16 points. He's a leader and a trooper. 2 range, 3 range for a resource, focus, 2 focus, resource, and blank. And it's an action, resolve any number of your trooper dice in the order of your choice. So that's pretty cool. That's basically like an all-in built for trooper dice. So basically just build your deck entirely with troopers and other like cards and like supports that can count as troopers, and uses basically his action essentially resolve all of them at once. So let's say he's on a 2 focus, you can use his action to focus 2 of your other trooper dice to damage. resolve that damage, and then resolve other stuff along with it. So that is a really cool ability. We have two damage sides and also two focus sides, which is pretty good, especially one being a double focus. 11 health, 16 points for elite seems pretty good. Then you still have 14 points for other characters, which you probably want them to be troopers to make use of his action. So that is also again counts as a leader and as a trooper. So he can resolve his focus or his damage along with all his other trooper dice if you use his action to resolve him and your other dice. So that is Kess Dameron. We're going to move into our next card. And next up, we have Padme Amidala, Resolute Senator. 10 health, 11 or 14 points, a leader character. Focus, 2 focus, 3 focus, discard, resource, and blank. And pretty interesting ability here. So you may resolve your dice showing a focus as if they were indirect damage. Basically, Padme's dice go from 1 focus, 2 focus to 3 focus, from 1 indirect, 2 indirect, 3 indirect. So let's say you roll her out and you roll double threes on her focus. Go ahead and resolve that for 6 indirect damage, which is pretty cool. And then I imagine you stack upgrades on her, or just have supports that have a lot of focus sides, so you can potentially, um, fix your dice with those focus symbols, or also choose to resolve those symbols as indirect damage. Health might be a little bit low. I think she's going to be fairly squishy at 10 health. But then again, for elite, she's only 14 points for 2 dice. You can use 16 points to throw other stuff into your deck. So interesting card, really interesting ability. She could, like I said, she could focus your other stuff or just resolve focuses as indirect. So that's really cool. So that is Padme Amidala. We're going to move into our next card. And next up, we have Measure for Measure. It's a neutral red event, 0 resources. Remove one of your trooper dice to remove a die. So let's say the trooper die on a blank. Basically, just play Measure for Measure, that blank to remove opponent's die showing a lot of damage or a special. Um, Pretty interesting card, especially if you stealthy. I don't know if it will see play. I didn't think it was a particularly good card during the when Way of the Force came out. But basically, you could turn a troop that lets you turn a trooper character or trooper die basically into like a non-trooper character into a trooper. So then you can use Measure for Measure on that die if it has stealthy on it and be able to remove the die with Measure for Measure. But I think removing like a really bad trooper die, like a modified side, or let's say you have no resources and it's a resource cautious side or a blank, playing this, removing it, and removing a big die for your. That is Measure for Measure. Our next card. And next up, we have the Quicksilver Baton. So neutral, red neutral upgrade, a legendary. 2 resources. So 2 melee, +1 melee, +2 melee, disrupt, shield, and blank. After you play this upgrade, if it is on a leader, roll this die into your pool. If this upgrade is on a trooper, you may spend 1 resource to roll one of that trooper's character dice into your pool. So if you put it on a leader, the die gets rolled in. Put it on a leader, um, the baton gets rolled in. Play it on a trooper, you can spend a resource to roll the character die into the pool. So I imagine that means if the character has already been rolled out and activated, you can play this on that exhausted character, pay a resource, and roll that die out again. The best combination with this is going to definitely be Phasma. So I kind of called it when they announced Phasma. I'm like, okay, I'm sure they'll do her baton at some point as well. But now we have it with this. Cool thing with Phasma is both a leader and a trooper. You get both effects. So you'll get to roll the baton in, and if you have a resource, you can spend a resource, roll in one of Phasma's dice also. So basically good on leaders, good on troopers, best on Phasma, or best on characters that have both of those subtypes. So you can put this on Kess Dameron as well. Wouldn't be as good because he has range damage and you crossing damage there, but it would work on him because it's a neutral card. But definitely it feels like this is built for Phasma. I really want to build a Phasma deck once this set comes out, like Elite Phasma, maybe a Stormtrooper, and then a bunch of stuff like the Mega Blaster Trooper. So this upgrade seems really cool. It seems like I think this might be one of the better cards I think in the set so far. because there's a lot of troopers in this deck set, leaders as well, and then effects that play it on a trooper, you get one effect. You play it on a leader, you get another effect. You play it on both, or a character that has both, you'll get both effects. And the damage sides, I think, for 2 resources are good. So you have a base damage side and 2 modifiers. I think if the one or the other one or the +2 were base damage, so instead of modified, I think it would probably have to be costed at 3 maybe, just because I think the ability is pretty strong. But that is the Quicksilver Baton. We're going to move into our next card. And the final card for today is a battlefield. So military camp, Caller, power action. Activate up to 2 of your characters that share a subtype. If one of those characters is a trooper, they re-roll one of its character dice. So, pretty interesting card here. So it works better with troopers because you'll get to roll it in and then re-roll one of them. But it works on, it looks like, any 2 characters that share a subtype. So you can use it on leaders, troopers, Jedi, Sith, smugglers, scoundrels, like whatever, and the list of subtypes goes on. So any characters that share at least 2 characters of the same subtype, you power action and roll them in, or activate up to 2 of your characters. And then if it's a trooper die, you may re-roll one of the dice. So if it rolls a blank, you get a re-roll. Doesn't do anything when you claim it, but if you do, basically can claim it beginning in the next round, you'll go first. Immediately power action in basically 2 of your characters and kind of be a step ahead, because now instead of taking turns to activate 2 characters, you're taking basically 1 action or 1 turn to activate 2 characters as long as they share a subtype. So that is the military camp, and that's going to do it for today's video. Remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe. We'll be back when more spoilers get revealed. Until then, thanks for watching and take care.